a spooky Halloween weekend of football that kicked off Crown Pod. Ravens, Buccaneers. Holy smokes, the 3-4 Buccaneers. Tom Brady, the divorce is like official, right?
Announced.
I know it was, but it was pretty crazy. How about that?
They seem to want different things in life. It's okay. They're finding what they want. It seems amicable. I don't know.
That's how it goes. Reach out, Tom or Giselle. Ravens were 4-3. You know, they've blown a couple games. Kind of all their games they've lost, they've blown. With the Buccaneers, it's kind of this Tom Brady, like, no way, right? No way. They lose. They drop to 3-5. They shut down in the middle of this game, scoreless in the second and third quarter. The Ravens with a huge second half, a 24-point second half from Lamar. Gus Edwards, love calling him the Gus Bus. Ravens are 5-3. That's kind of, if I told you that before the season, that's what you'd expect. They lost to the Giants at the buzzer there. They had a nice lead to the Bills. They blew that. They blew that game to the Dolphins. My Dolphins. In a way, they're where you thought they would be. Maybe you thought they'd be even better, a 6-2. Where they are this season, and I think I want this to be my theme of kind of this week. I love the what do we know aspect of it. In 8 weeks of football, you're starting to know stuff. And I almost messaged Beebs because I think it was one of the Wake and Jake titles that I was it is what I said, but I was like, whoa, that's a little YouTube-y. I can't talk about Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers anymore. I thought there was a good chance that could nip me in the bud about 5 days later. No.
Over it.
If anything, it's driven home. I mean, the Bucs are a bad watch. They're 3-5, and we'll get to Rodgers in a minute. That was your Thursday night. I thought I was going to be more excited for that game, but it was getting ready for the World Series. I don't know. We had friends coming to town, and we had a nice little weekend. Speaking of, Sunday, my Broncos in London. Huge game. The 2-5 Broncos versus the 2-5 Jaguars. Good game to a degree. Travis Etienne Jr., he's balling now that they traded Robinson, who is sharing some touches in the backfield with. He has a big day. Another young ball player you should know, Greg Dulcich, Broncos tight end. A lot of hair. Big boy, 4 catches for 87. Russ looked a little better. I don't know, man. The Broncos win. They put together the drive they need at the end. They're 3-5. They beat the Jaguars and Lawrence, who had some people hopeful that they wouldn't be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're 2-6, and they are. The Broncos take a win into the bye week. There was a bunch of trade rumors and stuff that people thought they might trade Chubb or Jerry Jeudy. It looks like with that win, they might try to believe again. Russ looked slightly better. They had a good drive. He scrambled for a first down. I'm not buying in. I think they already shot themselves in the foot. I've told you about how hard the Broncos' season schedule ends anyways. We will see. Again, for a morning game to kind of be conscious and watching a little NFL football, fine. I still like that aspect of it. And it led into the 1 p.m. slate. The winner from your 1 p.m. slate, Panthers-Falcons, which was a battle for the NFC South division leader. This game ended up being back and forth at the end. Panthers, Falcons, both moving the ball. Mariota and P.J. Walker, excuse me. That Falcons run game I told you about, they run for 161 on the ground. The Panthers run game, Deontay Foreman, 118 after they traded Christian McCaffrey. We'll get to that. The Falcons survive this game after they give up a Hail Mary to DJ Moore at the end. Eddie Pinheiro misses the extra point that got pushed back because DJ Moore takes his helmet off. Oh, no. Eddie Pinheiro then misses I think it was a 38-yard field goal in overtime. That allows the Falcons to go back down the field. They're your 4-4 NFC South leaders. The Carolina Panthers are 2-6. If they had gotten to 3-5 and they won that game, they would have been your AFC South leaders. How bad is your division? Bad. That's why I feel like people won't rule the Bucs out. I've got a little White Sox comparison there. You just want it to work, but it hasn't felt like it's going to work, and I'm not going to believe it's going to work until I see it work. A lot of times saying work there. That was a fun game, though. I mean, just straight up kooky. You half don't care about either of those teams, but I don't know. It ended up being a fun watch. NFL can still bust that out. Bears, they get rolled by the Cowboys. Cowboys go to 6-2. Bears, they were getting killed in this game. They ended up fighting back a little bit. Costly turnover at the end, in the third quarter, Micah Parsons recovers the fumble, and then Fields is right there, and he doesn't touch him. He jumps over him. Parsons gets up and runs it in. Right when the Bears were starting to get some of the good juice in that game to hopefully give the Cowboys a scare, they didn't. They end up losing by 20 points, 49-29. Dak and the Cowboys, 6-2. Bears drop to 3-5. Dolphins-Lions. I asked for the Lions to give us a fun one. They did. Problem is they got shut out in the second half. They were up 21-3 in this one. Let me double check it. Just Lions, what is you doing, baby? 21-7, 14-0, 21-7, 27-17 even. Dolphins score 2 touchdowns in the second half. Lions get shut out. They drop to 1-6. It looked like they had this game. Tua and the boys offensively were rolling. Tyreek, 188 through the air. Waddle, 106 and 2 touchdowns. I asked the Lions to be fun again. They were. They're 1-6. It's over before it started again. And the Dolphins back to 5-3, and Tua slinging it, and we're having fun. And their schedule at Bears versus Browns versus Texans. Their lane is back open up. For what the Dolphins are, I like them. I just didn't like when everyone thought they were the shit. The fish shit. I'll edit that out.
Yeah, this weekend kind of landed similar spot. Pretty in on Tua, actually. Like they win every game he's not dead in.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like looked good. Started sliding this week. They were mentioning that a lot on the broadcast. That he's finally getting the message to, preserve himself a little bit because he's been, in a way you admire fighting for extra yards and trying to be tough and all that. But like, dude, you're pretty important to what happens here.
He can't be doing that.
So I'm in on what he's doing now. Nice to have the tools around him. Their defense has me in like a weird spot. Like I know the Lions are have some exciting players on that offense, but like I feel like they could not stop them at all, which doesn't feel right for a team that's supposed to be at least pretty good.
Tua, again, I backed myself into a fake corner just because there's no good lefty quarterbacks. So I came up with a theory that it doesn't work because there's lefties, very athletic, talented lefties, and there haven't been any.
It's been a while.
Tua has what I think is probably the most overlooked QB thing because there's not really a good way to measure it. Tua is accurate as shit. Some of the plays they run, he puts the ball in like a perfect spot. What's got you giggling over there?
Matt Judon had a tweet 5 minutes ago. If you over 15 and you pull up to the crib talking about trick or treat, we putting the gloves on. I need my 30 and you'll get yo candy.
Matt Judon chiming in on Halloween in the current state.
And somebody replied, bro, chill. We just want candy. Don't want a box. Well,
yeah, hey, you want some candy, you're going to have to box. Tua had a couple throws that were just precisely NFL accurate that you're like, yeah, you got to be really, really good to do that. And to measure NFL quarterback accuracy with the play happening live and people in your face and stuff, it's really hard to measure. Tua does have that. So yeah, as long as he can stay healthy and their weapons are legit, Hill and Waddle, Gesicki looks good again. I'm interested in the Fins. Where are we going now? Let's see. The game that I hoped would be the game of the weekend, Vikings-Cardinals. I wouldn't say game of the weekend at all. Cardinals came back and gave a little scare. DeAndre Hopkins is disgusting. Go look at his one-handed catch for a touchdown. Oh, my, gross. That guy should be illegal. Cardinals are 3-5. It feels like every possession someone is coming to the sideline pissed off and not happy, and I don't know if it's a Kingsbury thing. I don't know if it's a Kyler thing, but it just seems like bad vibes over there. And the Vikings, it's now time that I start giving them their due love. They are 6-1. I love their running backs, Cook and Mattison. Justin Jefferson on the outside. He has his incredible NFL ability, and maybe I should give tall, handsome head coach Kevin O'Connell more credit. Justin Jefferson just gets open sometimes, and you're just like, how? Like, there's a couple times there's nobody in the area code, and you're like, that's the one guy. You gotta know. They didn't, and they continue. Kirky does enough to be absolutely fine. They're 4-0 at home. They're 6-1. They are fully in control of their division because Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, 3-5, 3-5, 1-6. You're 6-1. I mean, you just have to make sure you keep the boat going the right way at this point, and you're gonna be fine. Good for the Vikings. You know, their one loss to the Eagles, they got dominated in Philly by that Eagles team. Not a lot of shame there. They play at Washington, Heineke time. We'll talk about that. And then they have the Bills. Let's see what that looks like. Bills and Cowboys. Vikings, are you close to the Bills? Or are you closer to the Cowboys? Again, my heart still says Cowboys. But let's see. Let's see what you got. Cardinals, again, ship's heading a dangerous way. Dangerous way. We also had Raiders Saints. Oh my God. Raiders get shut out. 2-5 Raiders. I thought this was going to be their bounce back and their announcement that, like, we're figuring this out with Carr, Devontae, McDaniels. No. Kamara does his thing. Dalton and the boys look fine. And that Saints defense in New Orleans. They win 24-0. They're 3-5. The Saints, the last couple weeks, their offense has looked good. They lost to the Cardinals and the Bengals, which, again, I don't really know if that's anything. What do they have coming up? Ravens, Steelers, Rams, Niners. Yeah, I'm not going to buy any Saints stock. I think it's more so the Raiders are now heading towards full disappointment, and you got to ask questions about McDaniels and being an NFL head coach. I mean, maybe he's a coordinator guy.
Some guys are just great coordinators.
When he was in Denver, some of the stories there were pretty rough. I know he was young and he's gotten older and more time, and I don't know.
I don't think he shouldn't have gotten a chance, but
I don't think anyone thought this Raiders team was gonna, outclass Kansas City this year. But I think if the Raiders were 5-2, I think we would have been ready to be like, ooh, all right, Josh McDaniels, you figured it out. You got Carr, and you had Devontae, and you won a couple games. 2-5, and you got shut out. Shut out against New Orleans, because I guess that's the thing. They lost by 2 to the Titans. They lost by a score to the Cardinals. They lost by a score to the Chargers. They lost by 1 point to the Chiefs. They were kind of there. 24-0.
Like, hey, maybe maybe this Saints team is a little better than we've been giving them credit for, but to get shut out by really anybody,
the Saints
just can't happen.
The Saints are having their 4-game spurt.
Yeah.
In the NFL, teams like to measure themselves in those 4 games and what happens schedule-wise, who's healthy, who's around, what are you home, are you away, do you have momentum, do you not have momentum? Saints I think they're entering a good window. But for the Raiders, that 0-4 on the road could be a big dagger. Speaking of the New York Jets and the Patriots, who's your daddy to the Jets? The Jets, man, they were licking their chops. They'd won 4 in a row. They had them coming into the Meadowlands. They get a pick 6 to go up what would have been, I think it would have been 17-3. Pick 6 gets erased by a roughing the passer. There's 2 ways to look at it. Was it a little bit of a soft roughing the passer? Yes. Was it a roughing the passer that gets called pretty much every time? Yes. So that was a big mistake. It entered Jets fans' heads. Some of their tweets were kind of loser talk. Maybe we start doing the loser talk tweets of the week. Some Jets fans started doing some loser talk. And then at the half, the Patriots took over. 13-0 in the third quarter. The Jets tried to come back late and do their Jets miracle sauce. It was too late. Zach Wilson with some of the worst interceptions you'll see. Mac Jones tried to match him on one. Zach Wilson tried to throw a couple away, and they got intercepted. He just didn't get it to the sideline. New England, the win probability chart just looks like a straight arrow up for New England, and that's what it felt like. Like each minute that ticked away, it was like New England's just going to win this. The Jets aren't going to get out of their own way. 4-4 Patriots, 5-3 Jets. I don't really want anything to do with either of those teams, but based on history, you lean one way over the other. Jets have the Bills next week. Good luck. And then they play the Patriots again. Sheesh. In New England, that's a bad recipe for Jets fans. Eagles-Steelers. Eagles go to 7-0. What do we know? They're dominant. A.J. Brown, 3 touchdowns in the first half. Steelers are not a good team. This bet was my JM against the spread pick of the week. It was, I think by the time it broke, it was 11.5. I think I had them at 10.5. Didn't matter, man. They won this game by 22. Steelers, I mean, Kenny Pickett and the Steelers, they are not it this year. Again, they were getting more credit in Vegas because they beat the Bucs and Tom Brady at home. The Bucs stink. We need to stop thinking of them that way. They beat the Bengals week 1. That was a preseason game, and they shouldn't have won. The Steelers are big bad. Steelers Saints next week. Get it going, Saints. How's your 4-week stretch? Eagles are nasty, man. If they're at home, I mean, they'll dominate pretty much anyone, I think. Philly sports has the juice this year. They're 4-0 at home. If they're facing a bad NFL team, with how dominant they are on the lines, with how nasty their offense is when it's clicking, I mean, they should be double-digit favorites, and they probably will be the rest of the way. They're really good. Titans-Texans. Tennessee Titans are 5-2. They beat the Texans 17-10. An ugly game. We're talking Davis Mills. Malik Willis got the start. How's your 6 for 10 for 55 yards? Yikes. A lot of King Henry in this one. 32 for 219 and 2 touchdowns. He's special, man. I hope we're appreciating Derrick Henry the right way, especially with Malik Willis and really no passing game to be seen. To do that in today's NFL, pretty wild. It looks a little closer than it was to Texans, who are awful, by the way. 1-5-1. They scored a touchdown right at the end. Dameon Pierce. I hope that affected your fantasy league because it almost was useless in this game. Titans, 5-2. Rabel, man. He can coach with anyone in this league. They're going to run away with the division because Houston and Jacksonville are puke gross. Colts, you wish they weren't as gross, but they are. Just benched Matt Ryan for Sam Ehlinger.
Like a team that should be able to hit the button, and it doesn't seem like it's like the button's even uncovered. They haven't found it.
They pressed a Matt Ryan button that they covered up with Sam Ehlinger, and I think we might be able to get to that game because I think that's the end of the 1 p.m. slate. It is. Commanders, Colts, and by the way, Colts tasting it, feeling good. Ehlinger Heineke game at quarterback. Yeah, buckle up. What ended up being really cool, Heineke has the piss and vinegar that makes him a great watch. Talked about it coming into the week. He did it again. He drove them down the field at the end after, the Commanders didn't look too good, nor did the Colts throughout this game. Heineke hits Terry McLaurin for a bomb that sets them up for the game-winning touchdown. McLaurin is from Indianapolis. Normally kind of a quiet, composed guy. He makes the big catch. He's screaming, "This is my city." He's hype. He's got the whole team hype because he's normally not that guy. Taylor Heineke. People talk about the concept of having the little kid in you, or if you see, like I saw a video on the internet of this grandma that her and the guy at the local supermarket, they pull water guns on each other. And the old lady's like silly and kooky, and we like that. It's having that little kid in you. Taylor Heineke, whenever he wins a football game, he buys a pair of Nikes that represent the team he just beat. I wouldn't say that's that little kid in you, but that like 15-year-old you that wanted to play pro sports, it's kind of that, right? It's like it's not cool at all, but it's kind of cool. And he leads them down for a game-winning drive. And the Washington Commanders, who, remember, this is the Carson Wentz Bowl. Commanders traded from the Colts for Wentz, who is awful. They have won their last 3 games. Bears, Packers, Colts. They'll come at home against the Vikings. I don't know if that can be a game. Heineke versus Cousins is probably closer than you think, and I think that would disgust some analytics football people. But I think yelling at your lineman in the yelling at your lineman in the huddle, making a play when you need it. I think off paper it's closer than you think. Hopefully, hey, the Commanders fan base is a really proud one that doesn't get a lot to gnaw on normally. A lot of those NFC East teams, they got something to gnaw on. And with the Vikings coming to town, and like you're saying, the Kirk Cousins Bowl, fire me up. Fire me up. And it's a good watch, which, again, when we watch sports, there's an entertainment level that the Colts and Sam Ehlinger, who, hey, he did enough to kind of win this game. They're still not they're just not a good watch. Not a good watch. Niners, Rams. This is the one I want to focus on because the Niners rout the Rams. Shanahan owns McVay. These are guys that are from the same coaching tree. McVay is viewed as more of a wunderkind than Shanahan. He got the ring, and they beat him that one time in the playoffs when it counts. Otherwise, Shanahan owns this guy. And what I thought was awesome, the Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey. The last 2 teams reported in the bidding for McCaffrey were the Niners and the Rams. So what did Shanahan do? The guy that dominates McVay, and then they beat them out to go get Christian McCaffrey. Passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown. Just kind of smeared it in your face. Not only are we going to beat you, but the guy we just traded for a week and a half ago is going to beat you on every level. The same guy that you thought your team needed to get going, we have, and he dominated you. 94 yards on the ground and a touchdown. The 1 pass for 34 yards and a touchdown to Ayuk. And then 8 catches for 55 yards. Shanahan, McCaffrey, there's a special thing there, and they just rubbed it in the Rams' face. Rams are 3-4. Niners are 4-4. The other thing that went through my head, and let's see if the Niners can catch it as they get healthier and they traded for McCaffrey. Can they become a real threat this year? Because dominant, good NFL teams, I wanted to look this up, NFL standings. I know this was kind of a lesser slate of NFL football. I guess what it is, there's some teams that have accumulated wins. I'll send some shots fired at New York, the Jets and the Giants. They have good records. You don't turn them on and you're like, let's go.
They haven't established themselves as being like an actually good team.
Like, how about this? The 5-3 Ravens, and if the Bengals win tonight and go to 5-3, you're kind of like, ooh, these are good teams with good quarterbacks that on a given NFL night, they could beat the Bills.
Best team.
They could beat the Chiefs with a big night if Lamar goes off, if Burrow goes off. Jets and Giants, you still don't.
We're not there. Hopefully
that happens for them, but no. They just lost to Snack Jones and Geno Smith, who we'll get to that in a second. But teams you turn on the TV and you think they might be electric, Bills, Chiefs, like those are your dominant teams. Jets, no. Dolphins, maybe. Like, I'm open to feeling that out.
Electric.
What they can do is entertaining, and hopefully their A+ can beat you. I'm not going to give them that yet. Patriots, no. Chiefs, yes. Chargers, we wanted that, but they're kind of not. They're getting outscored by opponents. It feels like Herbert is hurt. Broncos, totally not. Raiders, ugh. Ravens, Bengals, maybe. I'm hoping Bengals can get a nice win tonight. Those two teams, yes. They should be really good watches. Browns, no. Steelers, no. Titans, kind of no. But even if you want to throw them in the mix, sure. Colts, Jaguars, Texans, no. So how about this? Teams that you can lock up as like you're going to get a really good product on a Sunday. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, hopefully Bengals after tonight. It's 4 teams. It's not fantastic. In the NFC, Eagles, yes. I'll even give you the Cowboys for now. Giants, I'm sorry, we just talked about it, but no. Like, Cowboys is even a little bit of a stretch. Seahawks are winning the NFC West, and they don't get in the bucket.
They're in the same tier, getting to them soon.
It's Geno and the gang. I'm happy for them, and Pete Carroll deserves a lot of love. Niners, Rams, Cardinals, the 3 teams you kind of wanted in that division, they're no guarantee yet. Niners had a lot of injuries. Rams have been meh. Cardinals, nope.
Between the 3 of them, that's like 1. But
right. Packers, Bears, Lions, straight up no. Packers were a double-digit underdog, and they got whooped that way. They've lost 4 in a row. Vikings, yes. They deserve to be. If I'm giving you the Cowboys, 6-7 right now.
For our purposes, they should be
6-7. I'll give you Vikings.
And they're supposed to be a playoff team this year and all that.
They were talent. The 2 upstart teams this year were supposed to be Vikings and Eagles, and they full blown are. So this is why I'll give them that.
Combined 13-1.
And the other reason I'll give them that, there's no other teams the rest of the way. Falcons, Buccaneers, Saints, Panthers. No. So, I mean, think about that. The Buccaneers with Tom Brady, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers. We thought one of Niners, Rams, Cardinals would be a really good product. They aren't. Chargers or Broncos or Raiders. I guess that's my point. In the AFC West, we thought that could be the best division in football. 3 of those teams haven't brought it yet. At all, really. Chargers, they have an argument. They're 4-3, but it's, some tough losses in there too. A lot of injuries. Chargers, you can change the narrative a lot easier than everyone else. Packers and Bucks, along with Cardinals, Rams, Niners, we were expecting, 3 of those teams to be elite, like Super Bowl, and they're really not in the picture. So I don't know. I would have to compare Week 8 to Week 8 of the NFL last year, but I think the NFL is short like 1.5 teams right now. And maybe it's shots fired at the New York teams or the Seahawks for collecting wins. But on a given NFL Sunday, what you tune in and expect from those teams is a little different. A little different. Speaking of BBD's Giants against those Seahawks, Seahawks improved to 5-3. They win at home 27-13. Giants drop from 6-1 to 6-2. Richie James, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two muffed punts. That's tough for any NFL team to overcome, especially the kind of the tightrope act that the Giants have been running this year. And they were on pace for, like, this should have been a one-possession game down the stretch. That second one was an absolute killer, and he comes off the field. He got a concussion. I don't know. Everyone does that thing in your head that you're like, hey, if you're an NFL punt returner and you muffed one, kind of your only goal in life has to be to not lose another.
You can have you can just knee it right after.
Right,
go right
just
down.
2 hands, and he didn't do that, and then he loses it again. It was bad.
He probably isn't getting cut, but he won't be the returner anymore because they just have no receivers.
No receivers, which I still think they should get someone. I just don't know who it is. Like, Slayton's solid. Tanner Hudson, that tight end looked fine.
Yeah. Bellinger's out a few weeks, but the tight end they're getting some production.
They're getting production.
They have a lot of guys that you'd love to be your second tight end. And then
even
Slayton and Wandale are nice secondary receivers.
Just that MLB trade line idea of telling the locker room we're going for it. Like, a 5th round pick to bring in a guy who will play NFL downs. That's telling the team we're going.
It's not a very high bar to figure out for the guy to become the best receiver on the team. It's just who's out there that's going to be at a reasonable cost. They shouldn't be giving up high-end capital.
Slayton being the obvious pick, and it's not a shots fired. I kind of like Slayton, but
I like what he brings to the team. But
more love should go to the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll, because one of those things that I love doing, and maybe I need to make this more of a sports segment, is when you put everything in the pot. This goes back to Texas A&M with Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel had 2 NFL tackles in college. His left tackle and his right tackle were NFL first-round picks. And he had Mike Evans, who is also one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So when you have Johnny Manziel's talent in college with those guys, it ends up looking pretty nasty. God, there's another example, BBD, that I feel like I've referenced so much over Wake and Jake of something like that knowing the people and the players involved, they did something. Is it a manager or something, or a coach?
Ooh, I was thinking still in football.
That as
like Ohio State guys, I feel like we talk about that a lot.
Oh, my God. I guess say it in the comments, and maybe I'll stumble into it eventually. But the Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, think of everything that we've seen in the last few weeks. Pete Carroll is leading a 5-3 Geno Smith Seattle Seahawks team on top of that division. A division that's supposed to be really good. Pete Carroll is the oldest coach in the NFL. That's always one of those best fun facts because he's like one of the highest energy guys, and you just don't think of him in that light. I think he's been an NFL head coach for 17 years or something like that. Think about how often NFL head coaches change. And now he's doing it with Geno Smith, who's calling out the Giants front office after the game, our former front office and coach after the game. Pete Carroll deserves a ton of credit
This was Giants' perspective. First time Giants have been outcoached this year.
Yeah.
Like, decidedly, like the Seahawks managed that game perfectly. They were great.
There's something to be said that for what the Seahawks are doing with that squad. And Giants, I don't know, you shrug. East Coast going west. Geno has been playing incredible. So you shrug and you say you lost to a 5-3 team on the road. You keep it moving. You had 2 muff punts. You circle that and say if those don't happen,
those are directly 10 points.
If we get 2 more, if we score a touchdown on one of those possessions and we don't give up the 10 points that they were, you might have won a football game. So I think as losses go, you say okay. And
I think every team wins and loses 2-ish games that they shouldn't have. So hopefully this is just one of those.
You get, and the Giants have at home the next 2 weeks, Texans and Lions. Maybe a loss does them a little good.
Loss going into the bye, then those 2 coming out of it.
I mean, that could do you a lot of good. A lot of good.
Then Thanksgiving at Cowboys might be tough, but
hey, win 2 after a bye week going into that. You could find the juice there easily. God, I keep trying to think of what am I thinking of? The example of a sports event that happened and players and coaches, and as we get further away from it.
Brady Belichick? It's kind of come back around.
Brady Belichick a little bit. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Bakers, someone comment on it, because I feel like I've referenced it a lot, and I thought I was going to stumble into it, and I didn't. Circle back on that another time. And then your final game of the day, Packers, Bills. Bills, double-digit favorites at home. They dominate this game. The Packers, they ended up playing better. They interviewed LaFleur, the head coach, at the halftime, and he gave a really good interview. I know we've been really tough on mid-game interviews. He's just basically said straight up, like at halftime, I told the guys, like, hey, like, show me something. Like, you're the Green Bay Packers. We are better than this. Show me what that means. And they played a better second half. They had a deflection. I think a deflected INT that basically ended it. And the Bills are really good, and they're at home, and they're 6-1. And they outgunned them in the first half. The comeback probably wasn't happening. He called out the Packers, and Collinsworth on the call was really good last night, IMO. He said a couple things that as a broadcaster you don't have to say, but he did. Sammy Watkins, who we're all kind of familiar with if you're a sports fan, really high draft pick, and it feels like he's had these moments. Collinsworth called his ass out and was like, Sammy Watkins cannot get open. It's like, whoa, that's pretty heavy. Like, not even one play. Sammy Watkins can't get open. We're at that level. He was calling out the Packers' young receivers, and he's like, they got to show him anything. And Dobbs, the kid, I think people might buy some stock into him. He made a really nice touchdown catch. And then he was talking about when they were running their hurry-up offense at the end of the game, like, keep it moving, do anything to get going, that Rodgers was literally having to explain to guys, like, their no huddle basically wasn't a no huddle, because each play he had to explain to all the new guys, all the new wide receivers, all the new linemen, like, how do we do this? And that's, cohesiveness and all the good stuff in sports that we want to believe in. So maybe they can use this game as a moment and a coming together with a better second half and young guys making some plays, and they'll get it going. You feel nuts trying to rule Rodgers out. Minnesota seems to be running away with that division. Green Bay needs to start finding some wins somewhere. They're going to the Lions. But then they're Cowboys, Titans, Eagles. I don't know. I don't know. It's those quarterbacks want to rope you in, especially with Rodgers, because Brady's old, going through divorce, a lot of stuff going on. Rodgers, it's just like society's kind of turning on him. He's getting older, but it seems like the talent around him isn't there, but it's young talent supposedly. So as the season goes, they're looking for their 4-game stretch. I was hoping I was going to look at their schedule and see something better. LSU. That was the example I was looking for. Joe Burrow. Look who he is. He is that dude. Who is Joe Burrow throwing to? Jamar Chase. He is that dude. A lot of those LSU guys were absolute studs. Ed Orgeron, as fun as he is, go Tigers. As we get further away from this, it's kind of the reverse Johnny Manziel. Like Joe Burrow and the other talented guys threw that team on their back, where Manziel and what they were doing down there, the tackles, the wide receiver. Okay, I'm glad I remembered that. I would have been a sad puppy if I forgot that. Bills are really good. I mean, if it wasn't the NFL, and we're still, I guess the optimistic spin is those teams that I mentioned that we're hoping to believe in, whether it's the Vikings, although Kirk will never have me, whether it's the Cowboys maybe hitting full stride, maybe it's the Niners with McCaffrey. Maybe they just, if they can be those Jimmy G good Niners, but with Christian McCaffrey at running back, that's a change. But they got to start winning games. Packers, Bucks, I don't know. Could the Dolphins make me believe? Could the Chargers? Yes, I love Herbert, and they've been hurt a lot. The Ravens, if they figured out their defense, they have a really good NFL head coach that you know. I know people were starting to do some fire Harbaugh stuff. If you can stick around in this league for a while, it's for a reason. Bengals, get hot tonight. Make everyone buy in, especially that I just remembered the whole thing was about Joe Burrow. So, enjoy tonight's game. A pretty good sports night, huh?
Not bad.
Bengals playing on Halloween, World Series. Maybe we'll have both games on. We'll be streaming.
Got TVs.
We will see you Wednesday. We will know the results of 2 World Series games. I'm going to go they split. Hot take. Ranger Suarez, man. That guy's fun. And then we'll get into next NFL. I did tell our guy, Foolish Baseball, that it was almost time again. We'll see if we get him in the mix. Otherwise, we'll be talking more sports. We love you. Goodbye. Watch everything.